All right, we're talking about Trump threatening to bomb Iran, and one person who was not upset by these threats is the Republican Senator Tom Cotton. And in fact, he doesn't understand what the big fuss is about, to the point where when he recently questioned the incoming chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Caine, Tom Cotton asked Dan Caine, "Will you be ready to execute an order to bomb Iran?"
If the president asks for military options to support what he has said publicly, that if Iran is not willing to make a deal, that there will be bombing, do you commit to provide him the best and candid advice you can about viable military options and the likely consequences of each?
Senator, I think that's what the job of the Joint Staff is to do, is to provide a range of options for the president to consider and then allow him to select whatever those options will work best for him.
Thank you. And finally, there's some hysteria about the prospect of the president ordering these strikes, or someone like you in uniform providing him advice, that it's going to lead to another forever war or another endless war. Are you aware of operations, maybe operations against Iran, like the tanker wars in 1988, in which the forceful but discriminate application of military power did not lead to a forever war or an endless war, but rather led to peace and stability?
Yes, sir. Those examples in our history do exist.
Maybe the Qasem Soleimani strike in 2020 as well, that caused Iran to pull in its horns for the rest of President Trump's first term. Thank you, General Caine.
Thank you, Senator.
All right, let me bring in former Democratic member of Congress, Dennis Kucinich. When he was in Congress, he had a much different take on the prospect of war. He was leading the charge against it. He was the leading congressional opponent of George W. Bush's invasion of Iraq. So, Dennis Kucinich, when you hear that from Tom Cotton, he's mocking people who are afraid of an attack on Iran. He calls that hysteria. And then he tries to argue that, look, we've done this before. We've had battles with Iran before, and things went fine. So what's the worry about? What do you make of that argument from Cotton?
A couple things. First of all, I've met Senator Cotton a few times. He loves America. Otherwise, he wouldn't be serving in the U.S. Senate. And he wants to protect America. I understand that. The general who he had a colloquy with has a responsibility to follow orders. He wants to protect America. That same kind of thinking existed when we were told back in 2002 that Iran had weapons of mass destruction that they were going to use against the United States. Iran didn't have those weapons, but we were lied to. Iran didn't have the intention or the capability of attacking America. Iran was not involved in the anthrax attack. We found out later on the anthrax came from Fort Detrick, Maryland, from an Army lab. Now let's compare that to where we are right now. Iran doesn't have the intention or capability of attacking the United States. Iran hasn't, has not developed a nuclear weapon. Our own intelligence agencies say that. So, if that's the case, what is compelling senators, congressmen to say, yeah, go for it, bomb Iran? People aren't thinking. America's not at risk here unless we do bomb. And this is as old, this is an old story in history, which historian Barbara Tuchman brilliantly analyzed in her book, The March of Folly. She did a sweep of history from the Trojan Wars all the way through to Vietnam to show how leaders, wooden-headedness, she calls it, made worse the better reason, and ended up attacking other countries to the detriment of the country that did the attacking, and of course to the ruination of the people they attacked. So we have to evolve as a species here. This is about, do we have a capacity to do that? We have to, or we're going to destroy ourselves. And so I see even the talk about the bombing, you got to think there is unity of thought, word, and deed. when people think about it and then they articulate it, and when it's the President of the United States who's doing this, you have to pay very close attention, and then they get ready to do it. There's a chance they might go ahead and bomb Iran's nuclear infrastructure. No one's thinking about the consequences of that. And if they are, they should share that with the American people. Because what I did in my column in Substack was show that if you bomb a nuclear reactor or a nuclear lab, radiation is going everywhere. If you use nuclear weapons, and every one of those bombs that the B-2 bomber can carry, each one of them is 80 Hiroshima, 80. What are we talking about? Presidents Obama and Biden talked about moving the B-83 bombs out of the American inventory. President Trump kept them alive. Again, this is not just about President Trump and who he is. This is about who we are. We ought to be calling our members of Congress and the Senate and saying, hey, wait, stop it. Stop this madness. Most people aren't, if you ask most people where Iran is on a map, they wouldn't be able to find it. But let me share some information. Iran is a technologically advanced society. They're part of the Persian culture, very famous for art and literature and mathematics. 90 million people, 90 million. You're talking about a country bigger than Texas, okay? Where are we going with this? We're actually thinking about bombing the nuclear infrastructure with nuclear weapons of a country with 90 million people, and we don't think there's going to be any consequences to that? If you bomb one place out of the over a dozen installations that are nuclear, you're talking about radioactivity that is going to result in radioactive poison, increases in cancer, genetic defects, and of course, the more places you bomb, the wider it's spread. This is a doomsday scenario we're talking about here.
Yeah, and this one that Trump campaigned against. What's funny about that clip of Tom Cotton mocking people who are concerned about what he calls forever wars, which he puts in quotes derisively, is that, Trump campaigned against forever wars explicitly. This is Trump back in 2020.
We are ending the era of endless wars. In its place is a renewed, clear-eyed focus on defending America's vital interests. It is not the duty of U.S. troops to solve ancient conflicts in faraway lands that many people have never even heard of. We are not the policemen of the world.
And so that's Trump in 2020. And during this most recent cycle, he explicitly criticized Joe Biden for bombing Yemen.
I look at your policies, I see secure the borders, bring jobs back. I look at the Democrats and many Republicans, and it's foreign war and foreign expansion.
That's right.
What is that?
I think it's just a failed mentality. It's crazy. You can solve problems over a telephone. Instead, they start dropping bombs. I see recently they're dropping bombs all over Yemen. You don't have to do that. You can talk in such a way where they respect you and they listen to you.
So Dennis Kucinich, I mean, you're a rare Democratic politician who's tried to reach across the aisle. And I know that there are people in Trump's base who agree with this message. I mean, it's what they voted for, which he's now seems to have completely abandoned, at least when it comes to ending the wars in the Middle East.
Well, we have to ask why. And it's a tragedy because as you played that tape, and I'm listening to it, I'm thinking, yes, he gets it. He understands that what America risks. But what's happened? What's happened is that President Trump, as many presidents have been, is open to influence by individuals who are not necessarily Americans, who don't have America's interests at heart, and who have their own political agenda. And when you look at Prime Minister Netanyahu, He is trying to stay out of jail. In order to do that, he's got to keep his coalition together. His coalition are some of the most devastatingly right-wingers, hardcore Zionists who are who are okay with killing Palestinians, and they're okay with killing Iranians. Now, if there is a war against Iran, it will not be without consequence for people in Israel. Iran has the ability, even if being bombed, they have a missile system that is all over their country. They have the ability to launch multiple independently targeted missiles that they can change the direction and flight, defeat Israel's missile shield. They have the ability to strike Israel. And I don't have any doubt that if the United States bombs Iran, that Israel is going to pay the price. The people of Israel will pay the price. In addition to that, if it's a full-scale attack on a nuclear infrastructure, the radiation could reach the Middle East and Israel, Syria, Lebanon, the wider region. People have to think about consequences here. And one of the things we do with the child at the earliest age, we teach them the consequences of their action. And no one's talking consequence here. It's just like, well, if we can do it, we'll do it. Really? That's not what life is about. You have to make decisions based on what's rational and what's right. Now, President Trump is a celebrated deal maker. He broke the deal in 2017 that it took 6 nations 13 years to construct, but he set it aside. Iran continued with its program, not to make a weapon. They continue with their nuclear program. Nuclear power, just like we have nuclear power, provides energy to our communities. But what's happened here is that the president has now decided that, he's not going to negotiate, or he's going to make a non-negotiable demand, which isn't negotiation. And while the contents of the letter that he sent to Iranian leaders has never been released, it's pretty clear from the sense of things that he's just telling Iran, you got to get rid of everything that is nuclear, your nuclear reactors, your nuclear research labs, everything else, or else we're going to bomb you, the likes of which you've never seen before. Now, come on. I mean, he's president of the United States. When a president of the United States says that, you better take it seriously.
Hey, free speech is under attack, but Rumble refuses to back down. We've always believed in empowering voices, no matter how unpopular. And now we're taking that fight to the next level. When major advertisers conspired to pull their dollars, even brands like Dunkin' Donuts turned their backs, claiming Rumble had a right-wing culture. But we're not here to fit a mold. We're here to defend free expression. To strengthen this mission, we're excited to offer Rumble Premium, a completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. You'll find exclusive content from creators like Russell Brand, Dr. Disrespect, Timcast, and the Mug Club with Crowder. It's more than just a subscription. It's a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. Join Rumble Premium. For a limited time, you can get $10 off an annual plan using promo DOOR10. Visit Rumble today. Go visit rumble.com/premium/door10 and claim your discount today. Together, we can turn the tide, whether you join Rumble Premium or simply keep watching. Your support helps keep free speech alive. Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Bakersfield, San Jose, California, Buffalo, New York, Toledo, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, and London. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.